My name is Eric Stringer. My title is Development Coordinator, and I've been with PLK since October of 2020. I have two older brothers that are in their 40s, mid-40s, and I have a sister who's in her 40s. And I have 3 nieces and 2 nephews. But I'm not married, I don't have children of my own. So I have 1 pet at the house that is my only responsibility. So I live in Northern Kentucky currently. And most of the time you can find me hanging out in sort of the urban core of Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. So anywhere from uptown to over the Rhine, downtown, Central Business District, Newport, Covington, Main Strasse. I really like to support like independent restaurants, coffee shops, pubs like that. I went to college at Northern Kentucky University, and for graduate school I moved to Los Angeles, California. And I lived out there for about 6 or so years. But there was something about what was going on in Cincinnati, and it felt really special, and I felt like I was sort of missing out on it, and I wanted to be a part of sort of call it the renaissance of downtown over the Rhine, Covington, and Newport. So now I get to be a part of, at Factory 52 especially, working with restaurateurs and operators like that and creating the Gather All Food Hall, which is realistically, it matches a passion of what I like to do in my free time, but I'm also getting to do it in my profession. One of the things I'm really passionate about is music. I've been collecting records for probably 22 years, and I have a really substantial record collection. And I really enjoy listening to music. I used to do DJing events and stuff when I was in high school and college, and it was a lot of fun. The 3 records that I'm probably playing the most right now, I've been getting back into a lot of the jazz from the 60s and 70s, and there's a record called Apendo ni Pamoja by the Ramsey Lewis Trio. And Ramsey Lewis was one of the great jazz pianists. One of the best trumpeters is Freddie Hubbard, and I think he was sort of overshadowed by Miles Davis in his time, but he is on par with Miles Davis, and Red Clay is the record that I listen to a lot as well. Actually, I was just listening to it on Saturday night. And then one of my all-time favorite records is another sort of jazz fusion, is Roy Ayers' Everybody Loves the Sunshine. So if you come over to my house and I'm making food, we're hanging out, you know, having coffee, having a drink together, I'll probably have one of those records on in the background. I did the Los Angeles Marathon in 2014 and in 2015. I've since ran a few 5 and 10Ks, and that's also a way for me to do like charity work on the side. So I'll run under an organization. One of the organizations was World Vision, and for like every mile we said we're going to give $100 to build wells in Southeast Africa, like Tanzania, Zimbabwe, places like that. And so I think I was able to raise a few $1,000s several different times. So that's sort of one of those things where like I've been able to merge like philanthropic work with exercise, and just sort of merging those 2 worlds together. One of the organizations that I'm involved with is called To the Ends of the Earth. It's a nonprofit based here in Cincinnati, but we do work in Nepal and India, and we're starting to venture out into other parts of Southeast Asia. I have a group of guys that I interact with on a weekly basis in Nepal that I sort of help mentor. They're from the ages of, call it 17 to 24. These were kids who grew up in sort of like the equivalent of a foster care system in Nepal. So I've done several trips now to India, specifically Kathmandu, and also Calcutta. So there's a lot of issues going on over there. So that's been my big passion in the recent years. The way I was introduced to PLK and this company was through one of my volunteer trips. And that's where I met Nick Lingenfelter, who's our Chief Development Officer. And at the time I was working in a different field. I was working in higher education as an adjunct professor. But I always had an interest in development and real estate. It seemed to be a good fit, and now I'm here almost 2.5 years later and working on this project. And I remember before I started the Gather All project, or in the very beginnings, a lot of it was just me cold calling, but now we have this great sort of staff in the marketing department who help with website, who help with social media, who help with getting emails sent to the right place, who actually make our presentation online, which in these days an online presentation is just as important as in real life presentation as well. For those who don't know, the Gatherall is going to be our food innovation hub. We're going to have, 14 or so restaurant operators and a brewery on site and a coffee house. But one of the things that I really wanted to emphasize at Gatherall as far as like tenant curation is regional players. So people from Cincinnati, Dayton, Lexington, Louisville, Columbus. But I really wanted to show like we have good, strong, independent operators in Cincinnati that are non-chains as well. I would say a typical day is a lot of calling and meeting with restaurateurs and retail operators to help build out the development, Factory 52, the Gatherall Food Hall. I basically work as an in-house leasing broker for PLK. I represent, our company one, but I'm also, sort of showing the value of what Factory 52 will provide to some of these operators and why I think it's going to be a success. And, so that's a lot of my time is just organizing those meetings and working through the leases. It's a little bit of sales. It's no different than people who are showing off our property and trying to get people to move into a PLK community as opposed to one of our competitor sites. And if they are an international cuisine, that's even better. Because one of the things I want to do is highlight not only like we have a great local barbecue operator and a great pizza operator, like we're going to have a Filipino outfit from Columbus that are going to join us. We have a Korean fried chicken, and then hopefully we're going to have, a few very unique international cuisines that don't get a lot of exposure in Cincinnati. But that's probably my big focus is having a little bit of something for everyone. I know that my leadership team is supporting me and they're accessible as well. Because I may be out in the field that day, I may be traveling across the city meeting with people, but if something pops up, if something arises, I know I can call specifically like Nick Lingenfelter. He can help me. He's a very good mentor and he's very good at explaining things. It's better to be in a room together because things are explained better. You don't have to waste so much time going back and forth with emails. So we do develop sort of that unique relationship. It'd probably be very difficult if I was never in the office and I didn't have the team that I'm with. So one of the core values that really stood out to me about PLK is its emphasis on giving back to the community, which is something that I really hold near and dear to my heart. And as you know, at PLK, one of the big days that we do is give back, where we find an organization within the city or in the region to work with, and it's completely volunteer-based. And I've seen that PLK has made a commitment to that, and they continue to do that. And so I wanted to be part of a company that not only is very successful in business and is very ethical, but they also sort of put their money where their mouth is, and they give generously, and we do a lot of cool stuff like that. So I'm happy to work for an organization where we are known for what we do in the community outside of just our business endeavors. So there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, especially with Factory 52 development in the Gatherall Food Hall. You can follow us at the Gatherall on social media and Factory 52 Norwood. Even if you have a recommendation, I'd be happy to talk with you about it. Send me a phone call, send me a text message, send me an email. I'd be happy to have you involved as well.